Please be seated. Ramiel.
Mr. Speaker, sir, let me at the very onset thank you for giving me the opportunity to lay my contribution as an elected member of constituency number 11, Vieux-Grand-Port-Rosbel, on the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2022-2023. The estimates of supplementary expenditure 2022-2023 of 2023 shows under vote subhead 24.1 263.23058 National Environment and Climate Change Fund the allocation of 417 million rupees for the construction of a waterfront at Deux Frères. I would thank the Minister of Finance, Honorable Renganaden Padayachi, for this supplementary appropriation for the project of waterfront at Deux Frères. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is very important to first remind you all that Deux Frères is a small village on the southeastern coast and in constituency number 11, found between the busy boating village of Grande Rivière Southeast and Trou de Douce on one side, and the lush green and hilly village of Quatre Sœurs on the other side, where agriculture and fishing are the main incomes of families. After sand extraction from lagoons was banned in 2001, the ex-sand landing platforms along the Deux Frères waterfront have been dilapidated, and the adjacent areas have suffered quite some environmental decline. There has also been a socio-economic impact on the residents and families of Deux Frères, as their main professional engagement and income was derived from sand extraction activities. This is why I lay my gratitude to the Prime Minister as well, who is la cheville ouvrière behind the project. It has been his vision since 2003, when he was the Minister of Finance, Deputy Prime Minister and an elected member of constituency number 11, to see this transformation in the southeastern coast. He continuously believed that the southeastern coast needs to get its share of environmental friendly development. It is to be devised in a sustainable way, and primary focus should be laid in planning and executing any form of infrastructural development in the area. It is to note that unfortunately, during 2005 to 2014, this part of the island remained unnoticed by the then government, and those people who earned their livelihoods through sand extraction were forgotten, and no attempt was made toward the southeastern communities to accompany or lead them to diversify their know-hows or to empower them. The waterfront project, which is now a reality, has the benefit of catering for two important aspects of sustainable development. Firstly, the environmental aspect, and secondly, the socio-economic growth aspect of the people and communities. It blends with the government policy of putting people first at the center of every growth potential. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to first take the environmental aspect of the project. Observations made on site have shown that Deux Frères is being impacted by erosion. When we talk of erosion, it means sand eroding into the sea, the mixture of soil and sand causing a direct impact on our marine flora and fauna, the fading away of beaches, which exposes the seashores to violent waves and risks to public and existing infrastructures. All these cumulative effects may cause a direct impact in our physical environment and our way of life. Additionally, the coastal stretch of Deux Frères is highly vulnerable to coastal inundation and climate change impacts. The coastal erosion and flooding of low-lying areas in the region may have continued with the impacts of sea level rise and frequent storm surges. It is undeniable that small island developing states are the most affected by a sea level rise. The 2022 Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report on impacts, adaptation and vulnerability confirmed that SIDS are increasingly affected by tropical cyclones, storm surges, droughts, changing precipitation patterns, coral bleaching, and invasive species. So, what should we have done? Sleep on our laurels and wait and see? Or looked for elastoplast or Panadol solution like it was the practice in 2005 to 2014, where we see that absorption drains construction in that era in various localities are barely able to hold any flood water, or lure the population that tomorrow will be different from their past failures, as with the touch of a magic wand, their leader has changed for the best. Under these fakeness and false promises of our opposition members, the government has opted to act. We assess, evaluate, plan, and act. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to only state some projects by the Ministry of Environment on the southeastern coast for coastal protection which are ongoing and nearing completion stage. Presently, coastal protection works over a total length of approximately 5.4 kilometers are ongoing at the following sites: Pointe-aux-Feuilles to Grand Sable, Petit Sable to Bambou-Vieilleux, Bambou-Vieilleux to Anse-Jonché, Providence to Vieux Grand Port, and Bois des Amourettes. Works at the mentioned sites started back in 2019 and is now expected to be completed in 2023. I would like to commend and put on record the unconditional and dedicated involvement of the Minister of Environment, Honorable Kavira Mano, who continuously monitored each and every aspect at each stage of the project. As part of the project implementation process, several consultative meetings were held with inhabitants and fishers at the design stage to inform them on the coastal works and to take into consideration all requests at their end. It is to be noted that the initial design stage in 2018, members of the National Environment Commission were of the opinion that hardening of the beaches through rocks revertment should be minimized, and sanding of beaches should be promoted in order to enhance its attractiveness, as Mauritius is a tourist destination. Subsequently, the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change humbly reviewed the design of the coastal works along the southern eastern coast in order to integrate perched sandy beaches, cycle tracks, and plantation of mangroves as far as practicable. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is to be noted that at the completion of the project in 2023, access along the shoreline will improve. Facilities such as boat ramps and hardstand will facilitate the daily activities of fishers of the region. Inhabitants and the public in general would also benefit an upgraded physical coastal environment with beach space for their leisure, while the socio-economic status of the region would be enhanced. Following works, the Ministry of Housing and Land Use Planning will proclaim all those sites as public beaches, which will then be handed over to the Beach Authority for maintenance and cleaning. Mr. Speaker, sir, the waterfront being proposed at Deux Frères over some 900 meters would, inter alia, comprise rock revetment, a fill-up of 60 meters towards the sea, an area of 50 meters square reserved for the future development of the National Coast Guard Office, purged the sandy beaches, a new access road of 550 meters long and 6 meters wide from B28 Coast Road to the waterfront, a boat ramp, an anchoring area for boats, parking spaces, recreational areas, toilet facilities, children playground, 156-meter berthing quay for catamaran and speedboats, pedestrian walkways, and spaces for commercial outlets and tuck shops. The Deux Frères waterfront lies on the southwest bank of the estuary of Grande Rivière Southeast, which is today a nodal point for many activities for tourists and the local public, including visits to the Grande Rivière Southeast waterfalls and the offshore Île aux Cerfs. Further, some tourism-related activities at Grande Rivière Sud-Est require transboarding from catamaran to small boats in the river, which has safety implications, as indicated by the Minister of Finance, and so also conflicts with other users. Considering the daily influx of tourists visiting the Grande Rivière Southeast waterfall, the Île aux Cerfs, and the other related tourist activities in the region, it is expected that enhanced amenities at Deux Frères through the waterfront project will be a major enabler to boost economic activities, as well as generate employment for the local inhabitants. The project would also ensure safety. Mr. Speaker, sir, the second aspect it caters for is the socio-economic upliftment of the residents of Deux Frères and adjoining villages. The public-owned marina will allow transboarding of around 60 to 70 commercial boats daily, catamaran, speedboats, small boats, giving the chance to the local communities to explore the avenue of plaisanciers and skippers. The fishers, hawkers, artisanal workers, artists will find the adequate platform to sell their local products. Fresh agricultural products and added value products could be commercialized throughout the various outlets. Plumbers, electricians, mechanics will also find an enhanced and long-term avenue to build their businesses. Taxis, contract vans, and transport services are also the forthcoming avenues of growth that southeastern residents may look into. Restaurants, food-selling outlets will create the emergence of new small and medium-scale entrepreneurs. The above are only some avenues to empower the Southeast residents in their quest to a better way of life and offer opportunities to grow. The emergence of entrepreneurs and new types of professional activities will definitely uplift the region and its people. An integrated approach towards development has always driven the actions of the government. We lead, but we also accompany the various financial initiatives to would-be and actual entrepreneurs through DBM, no interest and low interest schemes, the no asset as bank guarantee facility, will definitely help a young generation to emerge as entrepreneurs. The SME Mauritius branch of Rosbel is already helping the engaged and risk-taking youth of the southeastern coast to devise their business plan and to be ready and be empowered to embrace their new opportunities. I would also congratulate Polytechnics Mauritius and MITD, who have devised structured courses to accompany the youth in their quest for their entrepreneurial identity in new emerging fields with practical training opportunities in organizations. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would end my speech today by thanking the Minister of Finance, Minister of Environment, and Prime Minister for having given full support and is making the Deux Frères waterfront project a reality. Dreams are meant to be achieved through hard work. As the Southeast region gets its identity and dose of modernity, we will always ensure that it keeps its virgin, raw, and traditional aspect, which is the southern soul. The cycle track, the perched beaches, the greenery and aesthetics will just add on to the reigning beautiful culture in this coast. I end my speech here. Thank you.
The bill before this House is no ordinary bill. It is governed by Section 105, subsection 3 of the Constitution, which limitatively sets out instances where a supplementary appropriation bill can be laid before the National Assembly. The Honourable Minister of Finance, who is not even here, is relying in particular on Section 105, subsection 3A of the Constitution, which allows additional amounts to be appropriated in a financial year where the amount voted in the budget for that purpose is insufficient. This supplementary expenditure bill is for the financial year 2022-2023, which will end on 30th of June 2023. We're already in April. There's only 2 months left before the end of this financial year. And these additional 5,417 million rupees, are these really required? Will they really be spent in the next 2 months? I have strong reservation. If we look at the estimates in last year's budget, under the item National Environment and Climate Change Fund, the estimated unspent balance as at 30th of June 2023, meaning at the end of this financial year, will be 760 million rupees. So we already have 760 million rupees unspent. And the Honourable Minister of Finance is asking us to vote another 417 million rupees. When it comes to the COVID-19 Project Development Fund, it's even worse. The estimated unspent balance as at 30th of June 2023 will be 15,184 million rupees. 15 billion rupees sitting in the COVID-19 Project Development Fund, and you would like us to believe that we need to appropriate another additional 5 billion rupees because there's insufficient funds. So you will excuse me if I'm not convinced that there was a need to appropriate an additional amount of 5.4 billion rupees before financial year end. And I'm not convinced that this supplementary appropriation bill meets the constitutionality test laid down in section 105, subsection 3 of the Constitution. But let us take a closer look at the estimates of the supplementary expenditure bill. An amount of 417 million rupees is required for the construction of a waterfront at De Frères. This project was in fact announced as far back as June 2017 in the budget speech 2017-2018 at paragraph 245 as one of the projects to be financed by the 3.3 billion rupees funding we received from India. And the Honorable Minister of Finance this morning described this project as a priority project. And Honorable Chief Whip also talked about the urgency of this project. And this government did nothing since June 2017. 5 years they did nothing to De Frères waterfront. And today, the Honorable Minister of Finance wants us to believe that in these 2 months, he needs 417 million rupees to carry out this project. But what is more telling, for those who cared to go and study the budget speech of the Honorable Padma Jagannath, who was then Minister of Finance, you know what was the project value for waterfront at De Frères in 2017? What was the project value? 60 million rupees only. Today, 717 million, 7 times more of the initial cost. 600% increase in the project value because they did nothing for 5 years. We're all very interested to know the reason for such a hike in the project costs. And at committee stage, no doubt we'll move for full particulars and breakdown of the project costs. Have tenders been launched? Have contracts been awarded? What is the time frame that we are looking for this so-called priority project? The second item of expenditure which we are called upon to approve is a staggering 5 billion rupees under the special fund, COVID-19 Project Development Fund, for the construction of residential units, as well as other associated costs. Honourable members will recall that it was announced in the budget speech delivered on 4 of June 2020 that 12 billion rupees was being earmarked for the construction of 12,000 residential units over the next 3 financial years. 6 billion rupees was earmarked to be spent in the financial year 2020-2021. 6 billion rupees. How many houses were constructed in 2020-2021? 0. 4 billion rupees was earmarked to be spent in financial year 21-2022. However, according to revised estimate, out of this 4 billion rupees, only 100 million rupees were spent. And how many houses were constructed in 2021-2022? 0. 4.5 billion rupees was earmarked to be spent in this current financial year. How many social housing units has been constructed this financial year? 0. You already have appropriated 12 billion rupees. 12 billion rupees, you have not yet spent the whole amount. And now you want us to give you another 5 billion rupees, which means 17 billion rupees. 17 billion rupees, and not even un coup de pioche, not even a single house. I'm not going to repeat what the Honourable Leader of Opposition said in his excellent intervention, which I thoroughly concur with. I will limit myself to highlighting how the project has drastically changed since it was announced 3 years ago. Last week, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister shed some light on the new project in answer to his PQ B28. The first surprise we got is about the number of houses. We are no longer talking about 12,000, no longer 12,000 housing units. There is going to be only 8,000 housing units, a reduction of 25%. Next, the target income group. Instead of providing housing units for families having a monthly income of up to 60,000 rupees per month, the housing units would now be available only to households with a monthly income of up to 30,000 rupees. Next, the cost of construction. In answer to a PQ on 11th November last year, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister stated that the construction cost would be between 1.5 million to 1.9 million, which was aligned to the cost of the housing unit delivered by NHDC, between 1.5 and 1.9 million. And that was only 4 months ago, in November. Last week, the same Honourable Deputy Prime Minister stated that the cost of each housing unit will now be 2.7 million rupees. And we are not even talking about the infrastructure costs, the land acquisition costs. We're talking about only construction costs. And I'm told, and I hope the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister who's intervening will clarify, I'm told that land has been acquired for the purpose of constructing housing units, and part of these lands cannot be used. Some of the years, you can't have construction. We have already spent millions, hundreds of millions of rupees on this project, which cannot be, and no housing unit can be built on these plots. So how can he get it so wrong? Next, the amount of subsidy. Last year, in answer to the PNQ, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister stated that government would subsidize 80% of the cost for families earning less than 10,000 rupees per month, and government will subsidize 67%, 2/3 of the cost for families earning between 10,000 and 30,000 rupees per month. Now, if the housing unit is 2.7 million, and we're not even sure because requests for proposals have been launched. We haven't received confirmation yet if all the contractors have come forward and agreed to construct 8,000 units at 2.7 million. But let's assume that the cost of construction will be 2.7 million. Let's assume that this is the selling price of one unit. Government is going to subsidize between 80% for those earning less than 10,000 and 2/3 for families earning more than 10,000 rupees. So if we take a family that earns less than 10,000 rupees, they will still have to fork out for 540,000 rupees for a house. And a family earning, let's say, 11,000 or 12,000 rupees per month, they will have to pay 900,000 rupees for one of these houses. 900,000 rupees, and you call this social housing for the less fortunate? The less fortunate will have to fork out 900,000 rupees? How do you expect them to pay that? Have you at least worked out how much a vulnerable, needy family will have to pay every month for that housing unit? Last week you haven't. I hope by today you have, and I look forward to listening to you, Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. You will explain to us how much each person, each family who is acquiring this housing unit, how much they will have to pay every month. Last but not least, the procurement method used. Last year, in answer to the PNQ, Honourable Deputy Prime Minister informed the House that the new Social Living Development Limited, NSLD, has approved the implementation of a procurement policy framework with a view, and I quote, because it's very interesting, with a view to ensure a transparent, efficient, ethical process with good governance practices and equitable procurement processes so as to achieve maximum value for public money. That was told 4 months ago. You're going to have efficient, ethical, transparent procurement method. And what happened? Last week, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister told us that NSDC, that the same company, NSLD has invited 19 building contractors to express their interest to construct housing unit at a price of 2.7 million rupees. So there's no longer any tender. There's no longer any specification. There's no longer any competitive bidding. So how would the contract now be awarded? What happens if, for example, several contractors has expressed an interest to construct housing unit at the same site? How are you going to decide who will get the tender? Are you going to proceed by drawing of lots? Are you going to give it to the person you want to in all opacity? Or, as is very topical today, will it depend on the amount of CF that they will bring to the table? There is simply a total opacity now around the award of these contracts by the NSLD. And I agree with the Honourable Leader of the Opposition that this total opacity is the deliberate result of excluding NSLD from the purview of the Public Procurement Act. The Honourable Minister of Finance have been trying to think, why is it that if we already have so much money in the COVID-19 fund, why is he asking for additional fund? Is that good governance? Is that proper practice? And by coincidence, I was reading in the report of the Director of National Audit, who just published his report last week. It was tabled last week before the August Assembly. There's a whole paragraph on COVID-19 project development funds, large amount remaining unutilized. The Director of Audit criticized the fact that, and I quote, in spite of the large sum being held in the COVID-19 project development fund at the close of financial year end 2020-2021, and the significant unspent balance from the 8.5 billion appropriated in the 2021-2022 budget, yet the ministry had recourse to supplementary provisions of 2.5 billion. So despite the warning of the Director of Audit, the Honourable Minister of Finance, in full defiance, is still persisting in having recourse to supplementary provisions of 5 billion rupees when, according to last year's estimate, there would be an unspent balance of over 15 billion rupees in that COVID-19 project development fund. What is worse is that Director of Audit stated that as at 30th of June 2022, an amount of 6.7 billion rupees belonging to this COVID-19 project development fund, 6.7 billion rupees was in fixed deposit. So it was money that was not going to be used in the immediate future. It was put in fixed deposit with commercial banks. Now, how is that possible? How is that possible? Because we all know that the person who is the chairman of the COVID-19 Project Development Fund is the Financial Secretary. And the Financial Secretary, isn't he the one who on the 20th of May 2019, it is his signature, he sent a circular under the heading Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, circular number 6 of 2019, from Financial Secretary to supervising officials of ministry, department, and officers in charge of non-financial public sector bodies. And in case someone thinks it is confidential, it is not. This is available freely on the website of the Ministry of Finance. So in 2019, what did the Financial Secretary write? According to that circular, non-financial public sector bodies were requested to invest their surplus cash balance in new treasury certificate, which was going to be issued by the Bank of Mauritius, or in traditional government securities through the secondary market in order to enable early repayment of public sector debt and to reduce the excess liquidity in the banking system as well as the cost of mopping up that excess liquidity. So in 2019, the financial secretary writes to everyone and tells them if you have excess cash, don't put it in banks, buy treasury bonds, invest in treasury bills. We need this money.
Excuse me. I think you're departing from the main debate.
Yes, Mr.
Come back with that money you're talking. Excuse me. With
Yes.
that money you're talking, show how that money could have been used or whatever thing. But don't depart from the main debate. Please continue.
The point I'm making, Mr. Speaker, is that there is already 15 billion rupees in that
That was a
special
good point.
fund.
But don't stretch too far from it, from the main debate.
Yes, but
Please,
this money
carry
is
on,
going.
carry on.
Now we are being asked to vote another 5 billion, which will still be put in. We don't know how it's going to be, and what is worth. And on 28th of February 2022, the same financial secretary, acting as in his capacity of chairman of COVID-19 Project Development Fund, wrote to the chief executive of Silver Bank Limited and tell them that we have 2 billion rupees, 2 billion rupees of these special funds with Silver Bank, and give us back our money. And what is Silver Bank? Silver Bank is Banyan Tree Bank. What is Banyan Tree Bank? It is the bank that went into conservative
No, now you're
in
going
1st
too
of
far.
April.
Excuse me. I have been kind enough and quite flexible with you, but you're going too far. Please, come back to your debate, come back to your speech, and you know what is the main point here.
The main point is that we are going to transfer, we have already transferred 12 billion rupees. We are now going to transfer another 5 billion rupees, so 17 billion rupees to a company. This company has not constructed a single house. So this money must be sitting somewhere. Where is that money sitting? It is in bank account, and this is in breach of the circular issued by the Ministry of Finance. So now the Honourable Minister of Finance is asking us, give us more money to put again more money in fixed deposit with Silver Bank. This is the issue. In breach of the official circular of his own ministry, this is the issue. How can we ask to put more money, give more money to this company to put in commercial banks in breach of the official circular? If I had 5 billion rupees, if you have not spent 5 billion rupees, go and reduce the public debt. If you have 5 billion rupees, go and reduce taxes. Go and subsidize petroleum products. Go and ease the cost of living. But don't ask us to vote another 5 billion rupees. We will not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Look at you. No. Honorable Ganu. What did you say? What did you say? Please withdraw that word. I withdraw that word towards me. Please withdraw that, or else leave the house. Leave the house. Leave the house. Leave the house. I would not say the same to you. Leave the house. The whole population knows. I will not say the same to you. Leave the house. Leave the house. Leave the house. Leave the house. Carry him away. Carry him away. Carry him away. Get out from here. Carry him away. Get out from here. Get out from here. Please withdraw that word. Withdraw that word. Withdraw that word. I know what to say. You withdraw that word or you get out. You get out from here. Please withdraw from the house. Withdraw. I don't have to tell you anything. Withdraw from the house. Sergeant at arms! Sergeant at arms! Sergeant at arms! Carry this man away! He's becoming dangerous! He's becoming dangerous, carry me away! Carry him away! Carry him away, Sergeant at arms, do your work! You have police duties! You have police duties to observe! Sergeant at arms, carry him away! Carry him away! Carry him away! Carry him away! Get out from the house! Carry him away! Carry him away! Respect. 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 Please show respect. Honorable Kanu. Now I am naming Honorable Joanna Béranger for the word lash. I am naming Sergeant at arms. That was a plan. That was planned. This walkout was planned. Was pre-planned. The walkout was pre-planned. The whole population is witnessing. You're defying the president of the house. This was planned.